conflict spread to Lebanon earlier when Iranian ally Hezbollah attacked Israel, and Israel responded with new rounds of airstrikes. Blasts have been echoing through the Lebanese capital in recent hours. Before this most recent bombardment, Lebanon's government said dozens of people had been killed. CNN's Matthew Chance with this report from Beirut.
Well, it's been a very intensive night with Israeli airstrikes pounding areas of this city of Beirut in the southern suburbs, which are known to be a Hezbollah stronghold. Elsewhere in the country as well, Israel carrying out various military operations targeting what it says are things like Hezbollah weapons storage facilities and command and control centers. But it's also hitting areas that are populated with ordinary people as well. And Lebanese authorities say over the course of the past 36 hours or so, as part of these very intensive Israeli strikes, several people, dozens of people, more than 50 in fact have been killed, more than 150 have been injured, and thousands have been forced to flee their homes, particularly in southern Lebanon, to areas out of the line of fire to relative safety. Some of them in fact have come here to Beirut where it is a little bit safer than in the south. Now, there's been condemnation of Hezbollah from the Lebanese government. They're very concerned that this Iranian-backed militia, which has been a traditional and reliable proxy of Tehran, is drawing Lebanon into the Iran war, something it desperately wants to avoid. It has taken the sort of unprecedented step over the course of the past day or so of formally outlawing Hezbollah military activity. Now that sounds like a symbolic move, and it is, but it's also a potentially very risky one that could fuel tensions between Hezbollah and the army, the national army of Lebanon. So very tense, very difficult times here, as it seems that Lebanon is slowly getting drawn more and more into that Iran war.
Israel carries out simultaneous strikes in Tehran and Beirut. One high-rise building collapsed in southern Lebanon after an Israeli strike on Monday. In the capital of Beirut, streets were packed with people trying to flee the city as Israel targets Hezbollah forces in the country. Now, Israel's prime minister spoke to Fox News last night about this whole operation.
I hear the people are saying, well, you're going to have an endless war here. You're not going to have an endless war. This terror regime in Iran is the weakest point that it's been here since it hijacked Iran from the brave Iranian people 47 years ago. So this is going to be a quick and decisive action.
Joining us now live from Tel Aviv, CNN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Oren Lieberman. Oren, we are following right now the death tolls. What are you hearing out of Israel?
Audie, we're seeing an intensification on virtually all sides of this conflict here on day 4. President Donald Trump has promised a, quote, big wave attack is coming from the U.S. against Iran. America certainly still has the forces in the region, so we'll wait to see what comes. Frankly, what is a threat against the Iranian regime that is still in place here, although they've certainly lost their top leadership on day 4. Meanwhile, Israel has continued to strike targets in Tehran belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Intelligence Ministry, according to the Israel Defense Forces. They also say they've expanded air superiority across parts of Iran, which basically lets them do what they want. This as Iran lashes out with its remaining forces and its remaining capabilities against countries in the Gulf. And the State Department acknowledges that because of that, it is very difficult for American citizens who want to leave the Middle East right now, and that includes here in Israel. Meanwhile, we are seeing an escalation on the northern border of Israel as Israel has widened its campaign against Hezbollah. The Israeli military, that is, says it has seized more posts along the border between Israel and Lebanon. Keep in mind, Israel has held on effectively indefinitely at this point to 5 posts in southern Lebanon that it's used to look into the country. Israel now widening that in what it calls an enhanced defense posture as we see punishing strikes from Israel against Hezbollah in Beirut.
CNN's chief international security correspondent Nick Payton-Walsh is with us. Nick, thank you for being with us today as we're hearing more about this wave of attacks. Can you talk about the scale of it and how wide Iran's retaliation is sort of reaching across the region?
Yeah, it is extraordinary, it seems, how this Iranian retaliation has chosen to create more enemies for the already embattled autocracy in Tehran. Now, as of last night, 2 explosions at the US Embassy in Riyadh. This morning, Oman, the country that tried to mediate between Iran and the United States until this conflict broke out, its Duqm port, an oil tanker targeted there. Americans told to shelter in place in Iran. Explosions in Beirut, Bahrain, Kuwait sustained as well. And also, too, as a result of Israeli moves here, explosions heard in Beirut, with the Israeli armed forces saying they're targeting Hezbollah's center of gravity in that area. Let's not forget, obviously, importantly, to Tehran, where there are reports from the Iranian Red Crescent that maybe over 700 people have been killed since the start of this conflict. Extraordinary plumes of smoke and damage there, as the United States says clearly that it believes it will be escalating its military operations there. The time frame of all of this, so hard to truly understand. How much more capacity does Iran have to spread this retaliation across a region, across nations, many of whom simply did not want to see the United States take this military action, at least in their public statements. And now I think putting the Tehran government, or what's left in it, in an exceptionally tight corner as to whether they can continue to escalate and retaliate in this way or need some sort of off-ramp. Audi?
Nick, I want to ask you one more thing, because this is a joint strike and war with the U.S. and Israel. Netanyahu went onto Fox last night to speak directly to Americans. We're going to talk about that later. But what is the conversation within Israel right now in terms of how long they are bracing to be in this war, especially opening it up in other fronts?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's important to point out that Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday was talking about regime change, and that what might follow in Tehran would be a form of democracy. No time frame put on that, and there's a long-term Israeli goal, frankly, to see their enemy in Tehran removed and something more sympathetic in its place. It's a long shot, frankly. It has always been at the best of times. At the same time, too, though, Israel has seized upon an opportunity presented to it by another long-term irritant, the Lebanese militia, an Iranian proxy across the border to the north of me here, Hezbollah. They fired a barrage of rockets that started, sorry, missiles and drones that started an Israeli military operation that has, of this morning, developed significantly in terms of the symbolism. Israel, since its war with Hezbollah in late 2024, held 5 positions just inside Lebanese territory. We understand from the Israeli military that their buffer zone, so to speak, is somewhat widening as they've sent more ground forces over the border. This is not a land invasion, so to speak. It seems to be, their phrasing, more of a tactical repositioning, but that coupled with the barrage of strikes across Lebanon and Beirut and a continually widening evacuation orders for southern Lebanon, clearly Israel seizing the opportunity here to strike Hezbollah as hard as it can. While it can, exactly what strength Hezbollah has to fight back, well, we have heard of some damage done to a northern series of houses here. No casualties, light injuries, but that playing out fast now.